Dear students, Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Today with the module of Muslims rule in Spain 7/11/1492, we are going to learn the first unit. The first unit is about the social, political, economic and religious conditions before the advent of Muslims in Spain. The Spain which was at that time famous as Iberian Peninsula, but in today's history we have Spain and Portugal in that Iberian Peninsula. Spain, before the Muslims' advent or invasion in the region, it was divided into four provinces, the four major provinces. One was Tarraconensis, Carthaginensia, Boeotica and Lusitania. These were the four provinces. However, if we look at that, who was the ruler or who was the what was the political system of that region, we know that the historians talks about that before the invasion of Muslims, there was the rule of Visigoth of Germanic tribe in Iberian Peninsula, and before Visigoths there were Roman Empire. What we are talking about and what we are learning, it is very important to let you know that this lecture is based on three important books. So historiography for the history students is very important. So the one book is Hugh Kennedy, Muslims, Spain and Portugal, which was published in 1996, and then A. Brian Catless, which is The Kingdoms of Faith, A New History of Islamic Spain, published in 2018, and then Taha Abdul Wahid Dhanun, The Muslim Conquest and Settlement of North Africa and Spain, published in 2017. So these are the three major books from where today's lecture is prepared. Talking about the Iberian Peninsula before the invasion of Muslims, as I mentioned, it was divided into four major provinces, and the rulers were Visigothic Germanic tribe, which was ruling since the 5th century in Spain. Before, it was the rule of Roman Empire, although it is said that the Roman Empire had a very comfortable and very rich peninsula in this region. However, when the Visigothic came in, they tried to capture and conquer it with their strong rule and strong laws. If we talk about the rule of these regions, so it was the king Legwigild in 569, which was the first Visigothic ruler who came to Iberian Peninsula and conquered it from the Roman Empire. It was the king who made Toledo as its capital, and if we look at until the age of 715, it was Toledo which was the capital of Iberian Peninsula or Spain. And then if we look at that the Visigothic, who was there for three centuries almost, and then the last king, which was the head of the Visigothic rule in Spain when the Muslims encountered them. It was the King Roderick. It is said that the Jews of the Iberian Peninsula helped Muslims to invade Iberian Peninsula. The reason it is said that the Toledo came up with the Church of Toledo, came up with the various laws and rules which were against the freedom of Jews. On the other hand, some historians, they talk about that Count Julian, who was the ruler or governor of Ceuta, which is a part of Africa now, but still under the Spanish rule, he basically asked the Muslim rulers to invade Iberian Peninsula, Spain, to save his daughter. It is said historically that the King Roderick raped his daughter who was there in Toledo for his higher education. So it is, the various historiographers talks about the various history regarding the invasion of Muslims and the help from the area within the Iberian Peninsula. However, it is stated that if we look at the Muslims' rule in Arab Peninsula, the Arabs were expanding from south to east, from north to west. So it was part of their expansion policy as well. However, if we look at the political system of the Visigothic rulers. In theory, the monarch was the elective member. The king was being elected by the councils of church, which was in Toledo, and it was their like the policy that the king was elected by them. However, there were a few bishops and some nobles who played their role for the election. Mainly, like the rules or the laws for the election of a king was that the king supposed to be a Gothic by descent and elected member in Toledo, or it was elected either in the capital or where the previous kings died. At the same time, the Gothic being the origin as well as the free-born has to be the one of the strongest laws or policies to elect their king. This is also stated by various historians that the king supposed to be elected, but at the same time there were few kings who wanted to have their hereditary rule in Toledo, and it is because of that sometimes the previous king nominated his son for the next rulership. And on the other hand, the political system, as I said, was like that, but at the same time, when there was the king who tried to nominate his son for the next rulership, there were some kind of resistance from the nobles and the bishops and the Catholics of the Toledo church. It is also said that the few, like the rulers, such as the last ruler of Vitesia, which was the son of the previous king, he asked the Muslim rulers to come and invade the King Roderick, usurpation and the hard rule. So that was, like the political system or political condition of Iberian Peninsula. At the same time, if you look at the Arab side of Mediterranean Sea, which was the North Africa, there we saw that the Muslims, they have established their rule in today's Tunisia, from where they were expanding towards the west, and which is now called also Al-Maghrib, the country which is named Morocco in today's history. So the Arabs' presence in that part of Mediterranean, and from Morocco, if you look at today's geography, we see that there is only 8 nautical miles distance between the Arabs, Morocco, and the Iberian Peninsula's top point, which is called Strait of Gibraltar in today's name. So in that time, in Tunis, today's Tunis area, that was governed by the Musa bin Nusayr, who sent his general Tariq bin Ziyad for the Spain. As if being a historian and being you as history students, I would also like to compare the invasion of Spain by the Muslim rulers. If we compare it with the invasion of Muslims in Indian subcontinent, it is also historically said that the Muslims in the shape of Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Indian subcontinent to save the daughters and the women who was plundered and captured by the then ruler of India. Stating about the political conditions of the Iberian Peninsula before the invasion of Muslims, now we're going to learn about the economic condition of the Visigothic kingdom before the invasion. The Visigothic kingdom divided into rivalries between aristocracies, clans, and even the bishops, the religious aristocracy. That is how they were weakened economically and socially. That is the reason that the people of Iberian Peninsula of that time under King Roderick were against his policies. And if we look at the economic system in general, it was very much localized. There was a very little trade between various countries of that time or the regions. It was only the local trade or barter system was existing or present in Iberian Peninsula. The people, there were aristocrats who had the large estates in the region, and then the people, the common persons, they had either less land, or they were the working class for the aristocratic lands owners. At the same time, if you look at that, the population of that region, it is said that when there was a Roman Empire, the population of Iberian Peninsula was 6 million, but during like the Visigothic period, it was reduced to 4 million due to various wars which was fought during these 3 centuries of Visigothic rule in Spain. And at the same time, if we talk about the cities in Iberian Peninsula, there were not many cities existing in Iberian Peninsula. There were very few cities, and at the same, there were also small towns which had large states and effectively economically self-sufficient, in that part of region. If we talk about the like social system, then we saw that the polygamy and the possibility of joining concubines and others numerous interests of the kings and the aristocrats and the nobles was there. There were favorable conditions for them, but at the same time, like unfavorable for the people who were ruling over there, since these economic disparities between the common persons and the nobles were huge. And the Arabs, when they came to invade this part of the region, the people, they welcomed them. This is what the historians told about that. At the same time, if we talk about the family system, if we talk about the clans, if we talk about the, like their relationship with the nobles or aristocrats, this is what existing when everyone tries to be closer to the nobles or aristocrat at that time. The demographic growth was really, as I said, that there were not many cities, and the population was reducing due to various wars. So the only part which was quite, economically happy was the north of Spain, where we have, different regions. So this is what the economic and social life. If we talk about the religious condition, the religion, basically the Visigothic, they were pagans mainly, and then they did not believe in Christianity. The Roman Empire, because was there before their invasion in Spain, so they tried to take that Christianity with them instead of going against them. So this is one of the the previous Roman Empire's things they carried on under their rule. The church was there. They did not destroy them. The Christianity amongst people was there. The many people, they followed that religion. There were pagans indeed. And then, like we saw that the Visigothic kings, when they entered and started living in that part of the world, they had close relationships, family relationships with the Christians as well. So in that case, the Christianity continued as part of the rulership in that part of the world. And the Visigothic kings, they adopted sometimes Christianity, or sometimes they keep themselves away. However, the church played its strong role politically and religiously in that part of the world. So if we, in general, if we talk about that what kind of social life, then we saw that the Jews, which were in quite big numbers, they were not happy after the Toledo's church rules against their freedom. And this is, as I said earlier, that this is where the Jews started helping Muslims to invade and to be their savior. And this is how we see that there was various like conditions, political, economic, religious conditions went to favor for the Muslims to invade successfully. Dear students, this is what for today's lecture of the unit first, which talks about the economic, social, political and religious conditions of Iberian Peninsula before the invasion of Muslims in 711. So thank you so much and good luck for your studies.